Welcome to BAT Disrupt. I'm Dominic Cousins. We're here in Atlanta, of course, with Matt Breitenbach, Greg Gould, and our special guest today in Atlanta, Stephen Shane. How are you?
I am well, thanks.
From
Thanks,
the
Dominic.
Aspen market.
I am from Aspen, not originally. Originally, I'm from your neck of the woods, but I've been in Aspen for 28 years.
Wow, awesome. How'd you get to Aspen? Not literally.
Boy. You know, I don't know how long this episode is, so I'll try to hone it down. But basically, I had a family business on Long Island, retail boating supply stores, and it was brutal. Not the business, my father and uncle. So ultimately, I gave them each a respectful ultimatum because they wouldn't go in the same room with one another. I had to do it twice. And I said, hey, look, either we sell the business, I'll buy you out, okay, I'll pay you not to come in, or you can try running it because this is not good. So in '94, Halloween, so pretty close now, right? Yeah. Sold the business. There wasn't much to go around. My father and uncle retired. I ran the New York Marathon, and I took a place sight unseen in Aspen because I used to vacation there, and I was giving myself a hiatus. And my story's not that different from many other people who ended up living in Aspen full time. I just never left. Yeah. Never left.
Special place, near and dear in my heart too. I love it.
Well, the Hamptons and Aspen, yeah. Two pretty good places. Yeah. Not a boy.
Yeah. Fantastic. So how did you get into real estate out there? Did you just do you have any background in real estate back east at all?
So, I'm a business person first. And when I moved to Aspen, two things happened. Three things actually. One, I met who is now my wife. Two, and I'm glad I put her first in case she watches this.
Yeah.
Two,
good man.
Somebody approached me.
We're three married guys here, so
good.
Yeah.
It was the advent of snowboarding. So '94 pretty much was when snowboarding, kicked off. And somebody approached me and asked me, with my retail background, if I would be willing to invest in a snowboarding business. I guess he had a friend who was selling or leasing space in Keystone. I said, look, I'm interested in the business, but I'm not moving to Keystone. If you want to operate it, give me a business plan. I'll look through it, and we'll see what we can figure out. And at the same time, I'm looking at the prices of real estate, homes in Aspen. By the way, '94, really a value, but to me, they were astronomical. I could do fast math, put 3%, 6% on any of these numbers, and I went and I got my real estate license. So I ran these parallel paths. I courted my wife. I ended up with 6 snowboard stores throughout the state of Colorado.
Wow.
And I got my real estate license. And ultimately, as I'm traveling around the state in the snowboard industry, my wife said, you make more money doing one real estate deal than you do paying yourself a salary in the snowboard business. This isn't hard to figure out. Snowboard is for pleasure, focus on real estate. Well, that worked out well.
Well, let me ask you before we talk about, is you a snowboarder or you're a skier?
I'm now a skier. So I did snowboard for probably the first 18 years I lived in Aspen. But now I prefer having my shoulders square to the bottom of the mountain. You?
I can't really say that I do either. I really enjoy being on the mountain. But
Tom's a chunky sweater, glass of wine guy,
Yeah. And a basketball, right? You play basketball.
Basketball guy.
Yeah.
We are athletes. He's a big snowboarder. I'm a skier, so we're gonna probably come see you. So you probably watch. I've been in the Hamptons my whole life. It's cool. You have this long tenure in Aspen. Being BAT Disrupt, talk about innovation, disruption. What have you seen? I mean, two-part question. One, how have you seen real estate change in that time? Have you seen Aspen change as well? As the second part of that question.
people talk about how Aspen has changed, and the fact of the matter is, and I'm sure you guys have the same thing in the Hamptons, every place changes, right? So prices go up, and anything that is great doesn't remain a secret very long. So you have people moving there, second homeowners, third homeowners. And then during the pandemic, we had people moving from densely populated major metropolitan cities to Aspen and Santa Barbara and the Hamptons. So they realized, hey, it's a short life, and I want to live my best life. So it's so funny. When the pandemic hit, sorry to kind of
No,
bring
it's
this full
good. It's
circle.
good. It's good.
When the pandemic hit, of course, I was wrong, right? I thought that business was going to go in the toilet,
I felt the same way.
right?
Yeah.
I also didn't believe in bottled water.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get it for free out of a faucet, right? Yeah, so that lets you know how smart I am.
This is great.
And then, you know, it just went out of control, absolutely out of control. So my wife is the chair of Aspen Country Day School, and there's a waiting list, okay? The Maroon Creek Club, which is an expensive, you know, golf membership or tennis membership, huge waiting list. We have swollen with full-time residents. So that was a change. In the industry itself, you know, let's face it, Compass, at the beginning, I remember the question that was always asked is, are you a technology company or a real estate company? You know, we're a real estate company, all right? We have great technology, platforms that nobody else has. We disrupted the industry, an antiquated industry, an industry where nothing had changed for years before us. So in come Robert and Ori and this incredibly enthusiastic team, and they go out and they pitch their technology, their design, their business model to the top producing brokers around the country, and have built this amazing, amazing company. I mean, referral network, technology, culture, really, you know, we're in it. So sometimes I think we lose sight of it.
Agreed.
But if we look at other companies around the country, no matter what industry, I think it really reminds us just how special this company is.
Yeah. I don't think they're close in regards to technology, in regards to the relationships, friends, to the culture. You know, we talked about too. You know, Stacey Jones was on a previous episode too, talking about the top tier of this company too, being part of this 100 group that's been here at the retreat too. That top, even this top part of Compass, the talent level in that room that we've been in the last couple of days too, of these brokers across the country is unparalleled. And I think Robert's idea of going after that top was disruptive in itself, right? That most brokerages, right, the standard operating procedure was to then get this standard people, right? Go get any broker that fill a desk that has a heartbeat, right? Robert said, I'm going after the best of the best. And they're like, you're crazy, you're never going to get them, and he did. So.
And then, if you want to have the company validated, look at our retention. When we're in that room with 98 other top 100 brokers,
Yeah.
every person there is happy to be there. We're sharing best practices. There's some exceptional, extraordinary people there. So a lot came from different brokerages.
Yeah.
I think that, so I was the #1 independent broker 6 years ago in Aspen, and I
Congrats.
thanks, and I was the #1 independent brokerage as well. So because of that, every company, every brokerage that wanted to make inroads into Aspen called me. They reached out to me. By the way, they didn't know me. They don't think I'm a great guy. I was just #1 on that list of, hey, here's a company that we can acquire. So I was flown to Beverly Hills. You can imagine who, tried to get me to come on board, and then to New Jersey and New York, and every company reached out. And the fact of the matter is, when I read the dossiers of Robert and Ori, and I met them, and I saw their enthusiasm and their excitement, and I understood what they had planned, what they were going to do, there was no question in my mind. If I was going to leave what I had, which wasn't broken, okay, and take a leap of faith, these are the people that I wanted to do that with. And, we all can look back and know that was a damn good move.
Amazing move. It seems like, we talk about innovation, disruption, and it's come up before too, that it doesn't have to be, maybe it's not always technology or some, crypto or whatever, right? It can just be relationship and experience and who you're dealing with and values, right? And I think, meeting Robert too, and even listen to him speak, being here, realizing how good he's a good man, he's a good person, and I trust you, and I feel like. So maybe speak to that about your clientele and your relationships with your clients, and why do you think they're, how do you view relationship in the
So
real estate space?
I absolutely love what you just said, Matt, okay? And I tell my team all of the time, okay? So I have Carla Beth Spence, who's been with me for 8 years, Tatiana Cerezo, who's been with me for 4 years. These are my support. I would not be where I am today. I would not enjoy the success I've enjoyed if it wasn't for a collaborative effort. These guys are amazing. And the fact of the matter is, and I tell them this all the time, business is nothing more than people, okay? You can't lose sight of that. So I told you at the outset, I'm a business person who chose real estate as a career. We're in a people business, and we have to listen. We have to hear. We can't just do the same thing with each client. Every client is different. We have sellers who want to get the best possible price they can, but some of them need it in a hurry, and others are willing to wait. There could be a seller who has their eye on a replacement property and don't want to lose it. So, we've got to be flexible. It's the same thing with buyers. So often buyers will give me a ceiling of a price point. Then they see what that ceiling buys in Aspen. Well, that changes in a hurry.
Yeah, it does. It does.
No doubt. Well, you clearly have your finger on the pulse. One of the top agents in the country, the top agent in Aspen. We have a fantastic team. How do you see the market now? And then we love to ask, guests, what do you predict in 5 years? What's coming down the pipe?
So, there's challenges now. It's 2022, so we have these rising interest rates, we have inflation, we have global unrest. There's always something, okay? We're coming off of a buying frenzy during COVID, so there will be buyers on the sideline. They're waiting. What's interesting in Aspen is at the same time we've got this kind of cloud over the economy, conversely, we still have limited inventory.
Right.
So, where limited inventory typically speaks to supply and demand with rising prices, I believe the prices are going to level out, and true sellers, not COVID aspirational sellers, but true sellers are going to understand what it takes to sell, and we together, their representative, and they will make the appropriate adjustments.
Right.
So what's interesting is in a down economy, the more successful, the better brokers will succeed, because the clients, or the potential clients, the buyers and the sellers, now more than ever want a true professional, somebody who understands the market, somebody who has been this route before. and can give the appropriate advice. So with all of the technology that has taken place, let's face it, if we can send a collection to a potential buyer and say, they're in New York, they're in Chicago, they're in LA, Miami, Houston, Dallas, any of our feeder markets. Here are X amount of properties for you to review, and they can review it online. You know, it wasn't that long ago that you couldn't do that, okay? So that's a great start. Then they can come in, but there is no substitute for the broker. And you're in the Hamptons. West Hampton's closer to New York than East Hampton. My best guess is East Hampton's more expensive than West Hampton. There's nuances. North of the highway, south of the highway. That difference could be $500 a square foot, okay?
Right. Yep.
So in Aspen, you have the West End. There's historically preserved cottages, miners' cottages, okay, that were built in 1888. Now, of course, you can't change the exterior, but the interiors have been, you know, gutted, and they're gorgeous and they're stunning. If they're facing Aspen Mountain, they might be worth X. If they're facing Red Mountain, they might be worth Y. I mean, there's an area in the West End on Hallam Lake. There's Roaring Fork Drive. There's all of these nuances. That's where we come in. That's
Right.
the value that we provide, right?
Knowledge.
That's not on a spreadsheet. It's not on a link, okay? That's what we do. And it is so important, now more than ever, that we are able to share that information, what we have learned over the years, with our clients.
Really well said.
I love that.
Really well
That's
said.
Absolutely.
right on the money. So before we let you go, we always like to ask, you know, as it relates to the business of real estate, you wake up in the middle of the night, for whatever reason, is your mind on something more than something else as it relates to the business of real estate? What keeps you up? You know?
You know, at the beginning, I never thought I was going to do another deal.
Yeah.
Right?
It's-
Like,
yeah.
where's my next deal coming
Where's it
from?
going to come from?
Sure.
Yeah,
Right?
of course.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
I've been doing this long enough where, you know, I think that I've kind of overcome that anxiety. Originally from New York, I've been in Aspen for 28 years. Right now, I'm the #1 broker in Aspen in 2022. So what keeps me up, even though I've been in Aspen for 28 years, is whether or not the Yankees are going to make the appropriate trade so we can beat the Astros. I mean,
Yeah.
they're killing me.
That's
I mean,
right. That's a
those
great
are the
answer.
things that keep me up,
yeah,
Dominic.
yeah.
You know, other than that, everything falls into place. I got to tell you, you need
great,
to
Stephen. That was great.
invest
That
in
was great.
yourself. I have the best support team in the industry, okay? And we do everything together, and that is how we've reached whatever level of success we've reached, and that allows me to sleep at night.
Hey, that's tremendous.
Personal question for you. Dom's at the bar with his chunky sweater and wine, but me and Greg are in Aspen. He's got the board, I got the skis. What 3 runs you taking us on? Or which mountain? You got 3 mountains there.
4. We have
Four.
4 mountains. So we have Buttermilk, that's where the X Games take place, right? We have Highlands, that used to be the locals' mountain, and it is to a certain extent still. We've got Aspen Mountain, also known as Ajax. And then we've got Snowmass, which is bigger than the other 3 mountains combined.
So where are we going?
No kidding.
We're with you.
Where are we going?
Yeah, we're-
Okay. So
Some
every
backcountry
other
powder.
person you're going to ask this question to is going to tell you about particular runs and
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. Okay, I'm looking out for Dominic.
Yeah.
We're going to Aspen. We're going to.
I'll put my sweater on
great.
too.
We're going to Aspen Mountain
Okay.
because, and this is a little bougie, so I apologize to everybody.
All right,
but
let's
I'm
go.
a member
We're
of
from the
the-
Hamptons, so we
Okay.
deal with bullshit. So.
So I am a member of this private club on top of the mountain,
Okay.
and you know, it won't be the first time that we crack open a couple of good bottles of wine.
Great.
Yeah.
And if we have too many, you know, guys, then we'll download. you know, I've made worse decisions.
Oh, that
That's
was great.
That's
That
good.
was
Well,
great.
Steven, thank you so much, man. Great to have you on. Love working with you over the years, and thanks again. Man.
Oh, you guys are great.
Thank
Thanks
you so much. Yeah,
Thanks.
continued success.
Thanks,
man.
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you.
That was great, man.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna take you up on
That was
that.
awesome.
Wow.